Hello, everyone, and welcome into the Mountaineer Postgame Show presented by West Virginia on SI. I'm Schuyler, Callihan. That is West Virginia legendary running back Eugene Napoleon. The Mountaineers falling to Kansas State 45-18 tonight, dropping to 3-4 on the season to 2-2 in Big 12 play. Let's go and take a look here at the numbers. West Virginia outgained in this one 412 to 294. Obviously, things kind of got away from them there in the second half after the missed opportunity. Avery Johnson, 19 to 29, 298 yards through the air, 3 touchdowns. He's been a true dual threat quarterback for much of the season tonight. Pretty much did it only through the air with his arm. For West Virginia, Garrett Green left the game after the first half, went 9 of 19 for 85 yards, a touchdown and 2 picks. Also ran for 88 yards on the night. So, Gene, before we get into the depth of this, because this is going to be, I feel like a little heated or maybe a little passionate, maybe hear from you in here in a few minutes. But going back to the first half of this game, when it was still a game, right? Again, we talked about the Iowa State game and how things kind of changed after the drop on third down, the missed field goal, and then plays later, a touchdown, right?
Right.
Tonight, I think there was two different scenarios. One where West Virginia forced the fumble on the kickoff but didn't jump on it. 2 plays later, Kansas State scores. That's what reminded me of the Iowa State game last week. And then you still, as bad as you've played, as bad as Garrett Green has played, you get a chance to tie it up at the end of the first half. You go for it on 4th and 1, and I don't blame him for going for it. I don't think that's the wrong call whatsoever. But the fact that you waited so long to get the play calling out of a timeout, mind you, that you didn't have enough time to really look at the defense, see what they were presenting you, make some adjustments at the line, or just know what is going to be coming. And you could have also even tried to draw them off sides, but you had no time to do that because the ball or the call didn't come in into the huddle until there's like 6 or 7 seconds left in the play clock. So just a poorly handled situation there, and from there on out, it was all Kansas State. So initial thoughts on the game, and then we'll get to the other good stuff.
Well, first off, let me say this. I hope people enjoyed themselves at the tailgating. I hope they had a great atmosphere.
Oh
Let me
boy.
let me start off by saying that. Okay.
That's about the only place where fun was had, if I had to
Yeah,
imagine.
yeah. Okay. So here's the thing. Once again, West Virginia, we're on prime time TV playing a ranked team that you already know what the stakes are for this game. And once again, we show up and we're not prepared. So once again, I'm not putting this all squarely on these players. I'm putting it on Neil Brown and I'm putting it squarely on the coaching staff. As you just said, I'm not ticked off at going for it fourth down.
That's what
Matter
I
of fact,
call.
the routes that was called were the right routes to be called. The only thing, unfortunately, the ball should have been thrown, let's say, a little bit early out of the break for the tight end to get to it in that little window within no more than 2 to 3 steps. The ball should have been thrown. Okay, without regarding all of that, when you don't know you're in that position as a head coach, these things are scripted. They're usually scripted. You on your sheet, you know, fourth and whatever, third and whatever, second and whatever. It's like clockwork in your head, and it's in your hands because it's scripted already. At least it should be. Those particular scenarios, crunch time in the game, even time management wise. And this is why I say I don't believe Neil Brown is ready for prime time. It's these crucial moments in a game where we don't come up big in these moments, and we have to. West Virginia football has always been predicated on a hard hitting defense, a well disciplined team, usually, and we don't quit. I'm looking at where we are now as a program, and we're not heading in the right direction because of the product that we're putting on the field. And week in and week out, you're seeing that.
Yeah.
No disrespect to Kansas State. There's no freaking way I'm looking at this score 45-18 at home, prime
Should
time,
have
and we're losing the freaking K-State. I'm sorry.
should have been 52 technically,
It should have been, but
or well, if they wanted to extend the game a little bit more, or had he just got into the end zone, but 52-18. So
let me tell you something. And thank God. Okay, coach, I appreciate you. Thank you so very much for being kind, throwing in the mercy rule. It's the Pop Warner mercy rule. Thank you, sir. But dude, Neil, listen, I'm not even sure if you listened to our commentary pre and post game. My guy, let me tell you something. This ain't getting it done, my dude. Look, this is big boy ball, man. If you're not ready to get an offensive coordinator or maybe go to some coaching clinics during the offseason and pick up some tips from these guys that are doing it at a high level very consistently, then you need to go march yourself into the AD's office, sit down and say, look here, let me be nice enough to work something out numbers wise where matter of fact, I won't even take my complete buyout. I have enough respect for the program in this great state and these students and everybody that lives in the state of West Virginia to say, this is above my head. And why I say that is 2 weeks in a row, we get embarrassed on national television. That's not supposed to happen. Iowa State, now Kansas State, come on, man. It's not supposed to happen.
the one thing that I really came away from this game was just the overall regression from Garrett Green. And I hate it for him because I think the kid's got a lot of heart. He's tough as nails. He's everything you would envision in terms of the DNA of a Mountaineer quarterback, right? He's got all of that inside of him.
All the intangibles, absolutely.
As a passer, though, it's just never turned the corner. We heard all offseason, hey, we're charting his completion percentage every single day, and from this year compared to last training camp, it's higher. From this point on, from this year or last spring, it's higher, it's higher, it's higher. You know what? It's not, Gene. Higher. He is
No, no.
exactly what he was a year ago, except he's being more of a turnover prone quarterback. We've talked about the turnover worthy throws earlier in the week, how some of them aren't necessarily resulting in turnovers, but he's throwing more balls in harm's way than he did a year ago. This year,
Right.
I don't know if it's nerves, if it's him just trying to press and do too much. The two interceptions tonight, I don't know. I mean, and you could have argued that there was a couple of other really bad decision throws that he made where there was just nobody open and he still threw it anyway.
Right.
That to me is a major red flag for Neil Brown and for this coaching staff because, Gene, it's not just Garrett Green. If you remember, go
No.
back to Jarrett Dagey, right?
Yes.
Dagey and Garrett Green were the only two quarterbacks so far that have had multiple years as being the starting quarterback of West Virginia under this staff or under Neil Brown. Both
Absolutely.
quarterbacks regressed as time went on. Why?
So what does that tell you? And once again, that is indicative of a coach that's not prepared. Your players are not progressing in a productive and positive way underneath your tutelage and underneath your leadership, which means that's an indication that they're not being developed properly within this program. So you're 100% right, Scholar. So that's more a shot not at the player, but at the coach. Now, if he's Neil is the head coach and also the OC. Well, he's calling the plays. Okay, then that means your quarterback. It's your responsibility to make sure he's progressing and making the right throws. As a matter of fact, even more so because these are the guys that you say, I'm going to make sure if he's the quarterback of my program, he is going to be ready to play week in and week out. This is one of my biggest jobs. And it's funny that you say that. The last 2 years, I've said this and we've talked about it. We know how much we respect. Green he's a hell of a competitor. We know this, right? But when you regress and you're in your senior campaign.
Fifth year senior.
Fifth year, dude, that is you can't. That's inexcusable. There's no way you can even make an excuse for that. That's squarely on the shoulders of Neil Brown and his staff. They did not develop this young man. And you also see it in other positions on the field when late in games things happen that shouldn't happen because you kind of, the technique is come third, fourth quarter, the technique in certain positions is not there. Sloppy tackling. There's a few different things that's not right, which tells you the culture and the direction of your program, you're not moving in the right direction, which means it's time to move on from this experiment.
You know what I saw tonight, Gene, that probably haven't seen before, and we've been critical this whole time of Neil Brown and all of his struggles. But until tonight, I didn't really ever see a quit in this team. And I'm not
Right,
saying that every individual on this team showed that tonight, but I saw some guys probably not go as hard as we had seen in the past. Even when the
right,
game was out of reach last week against Iowa State, I felt like everyone on the field was going 100%. They were going hard the whole time, every single snap.
right.
This week, it felt like I don't know what time of the game it was or what the score was, but I just remember thinking to myself, I'm like, man, it just feels like guys are just out there just to be out there. They're not there to just they're just kind of going through the motions at this point. And that is alarming to me. You're 3-4. You're having these kinds of feelings
Yeah.
or thoughts about a team. Next week you go on the road to Arizona, and then you go to the bye week. Like this could snowball out of control. And Neil's press conference is going on right now as we're actually recording this, so I don't know what he's saying at the moment. But what I will say is there is no excuse. I don't
No.
care if Jaheim White was out for the second half, if Garrett Green was out for the second half, and Wyatt Milam was out for the second half, for you to lose this game 45, essentially 52-18. You had this game right there to be tied up at the end of the first half, and
Yes.
Neil Brown faltered that. He waited
Yeah.
way too long to get that fourth down play call in. Even if it doesn't work, you have a
Yes.
chance to draw them off sides or give your team a chance by giving them time to see the picture. They had no time at all.
And that's again, that's indicative of the coach. And also, he's lost this team. And you can see that. Body language tells me a lot. I've been in locker rooms, been in many locker rooms on a professional level, and obviously at WVU and at Pittsburgh. The bottom line is when you see guys going through the motions, you can tell that they're going through the motions. He's lost this locker room. And he can say whatever he wants to say. These guys, you're looking at 3-4, like you said. You got a trip out to the West Coast, out to Arizona next week, and then you on your bye week. Depending on what happens even next week, you're 3-4. So they
Yeah.
already know, look, we're 3-4. Like, how much more can you talk to these guys from Neil Brown's mouth to their ears where they're going to be motivated to do anything but get through the season without getting seriously injured? That's where they are right now mentally. I'm telling you, he's lost this locker room. And it's unfortunate because there's enough talent on this roster where we should not be 3-4 right now. We should not be 2-2 in the conference. We shouldn't have lost these two games back to back on national television. The fans, the university, the alumni deserve better. Period.
Yeah, I'm with you. 3-17. I mean, that's all you really need to know. I don't need to go into some in-depth rant about that. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. 3-17. Remember that paper I had here the other day? I don't even know where it went now. I was holding it up 3-16, 3-16. Now I got to cross that out or make a new
Yeah.
one. I mean, I think the biggest thing with me for this is it's year 6, and what can you point to during this time frame that gives you a sign of hope or a sign of optimism? You can maybe say last year, but I think that was more of catching a lucky break with the schedule than anything because you didn't play the top teams in the league. You played all 4 of the Big 12 newcomers, and they were going through that transition. West Virginia went through that transition themselves and saw how that worked out in their first 2 years, right? So I don't know, man. Like
Absolutely.
I don't know what to really think or say. But this could really spiral out of control for sure. And again, he can sit there and say, we didn't have this guy, and this guy in the second half. But Gene, I gotta tell you what, I don't know that West Virginia would have won the game with those three. I really don't.
No, because it's not just the players, it's coaching. So now I'm at a dilemma where no matter who we play moving forward, I can't trust, it's not even the players as much as I can't trust the coaching. It's the first time I've ever said that. I cannot trust the coaching to even put a good product on the field to compete for 4 quarters. So therefore, for me, I mean, it hurts. And I'm sure some of my fellow Mountaineers, and I'm sure they feel the same way. I'm sure by tomorrow my phone will blow up, or I'll get some text messages like, "What the is going on?" Nah, this is not it, dude. This is not what we are used to as former Mountaineers. No, no, no. You don't come in to Morgantown and whoop our ass 45-18. You don't, no, man. No, you don't come in last week. No, we don't lose games like this. Nah.
And I know it's been a while since West Virginia was deemed as a tough place to play. But even during the Dana years, like we talked about it in the walkthrough show, with a ranked opponent coming to town, Dana Holgerson was the head coach. You still felt like you had a chance, and in some of those games, he did win. Now
Absolutely.
with this era, it's what do you point to? Where is the signature win? The three
No,
wins that he has against ranked teams, I believe two of them finished the year with losing records. So
I believe you're
Kansas State was one, Virginia Tech, I believe, was the other.
the other. I
So
believe. Yeah. Nah.
I don't know, man. It's interesting times for sure. Be sure to hit that subscribe button here on our YouTube page at West Virginia on SI. Give us a follow on X at SI_WVU. And I'll have my Sunday morning column up in the morning, first thing, as always. And I guarantee you can probably guess what that's going to be about. A certain individual potentially. But we'll also have the Between the Ears, the morning after show as well, diving into more some of this nonsense that happened in Morgantown tonight. But that's going to do it here for the Mountaineer postgame show tonight. Again, Kansas State 45, West Virginia 18. For Eugene, Napoleon, I'm Schuyler Callihan. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you in the morning. Take care.